Okay, it's 9 o'clock and not 11 o'clock. Hey everyone, welcome to a overdue employee office hours. We are excited to be here with you and chat with you. Commissioner just wanted to get on briefly, just talk a little bit about the state of the state and some of the things that came out of the budget. And then we got we'll have some time to answer any questions. We did get one pre-submitted one, but before I get into anything else, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Turner.
Thanks, Kara. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good week. Certainly want to be empathetic. I think most of you know there's still some employees we have that have been seriously and significantly impacted by that storm. So we're continuing to pray for everybody, and hopefully that will be in the rearview mirror completely in the near future. But incredibly sad what has happened. And for any of our employees, Bruce Wilson and I have been talking, others have been talking. If there's anything that you need or circumstances that come up as a result of that in your workspace or personal life or anything like that, please make sure you let us know. That is incredibly important to us, and we want to make sure that you and your family are getting served and supported the right way. So, sun's out, thankfully, getting a little bit warmer, and I can speak for myself and probably others, and I can't wait for the spring to get here in warmer weather. So that's on the way. Again, thanks for joining. We've got almost 500 people on here. It's been a while since we've done in office hours. Kara and I and Hannah and I were talking yesterday that we needed to do one and just jump on here and kind of walk you through some of the things that are happening and things that you might have seen or heard or been aware of. Just a couple of quick highlights. I think most of you, obviously, if you're in West, know our new building out in West is completely finished. We're at about 60 to 70% in Middle and in East Tennessee. So in the next 6 to 8 months, all of our new buildings are going to be completed and up and running. We're getting a lot of questions about that in a very good way. The legislature has been asking. A couple of the representatives and the state senators from East Tennessee were asking me about it at the State of the State Monday night. They're excited about it and the impact that it's having on Greenville, and the people are seeing progress and knowing that some new things are happening. So very positive, very happy about that. And we're going to be doing the ribbon cutting in West Tennessee at the end of the month. So we're going to be inviting a lot of people and officially opening that to the community, and very excited about that. Wanted to jump in real quick to the state of the state. You heard the governor's state of the state. If you watched it, if you didn't, just a couple of very brief highlights. Most of it was just reflective over the last 7 years on things that have been accomplished by the administration, the direction that they have moved. Some of the highlights from education, some of the highlights from investments in economic and community development around nuclear energy. Really positive things, really productive things that were covered. The big questions that we get obviously are very directed to what the impact looks like for DDA. The state of Tennessee every month rolls out revenue projections, and they share what revenue was actually collected for the state. Last year was a really lean year. We've talked about it a lot in the executive team, that the days of 2019 and pre-COVID 2020, where there was a lot of revenue coming in, it seemed like a distant memory. We're kind of stabilizing on what the tax revenues look like coming into the state coffers, and as a result of that, the budgets get more lean. Um, for our department, we had a really challenging budget year. None of our proposals were funded. Um, I got a call Sunday about that, just sharing some information and bits and pieces about that. We did get a little bit of funding that Kara's team is responsible for as it relates to ADA accessibility and compliance for state documents, state websites, things like that. But as it comes to programmatic things, as it comes to things that we care about, we did not get any new budget dollars added to our budget. It's very disappointing. I can't tell you that it's necessarily surprising, because a lot of departments got hit pretty hard on that. It doesn't necessarily change anything that we're doing, doesn't change our mission, doesn't change our vision, doesn't change anything that we're trying to do. We just continue to try to figure out ways to get creative. So the budget is formally submitted from the governor. What has to happen still is a lot of different things. The legislature has to approve it. The legislature is going to be working with the governor's office very closely on the budget that the legislature is going to work on, and then they come together and figure out what one big budget's going to look like. So there's still some things that could happen. Last year, the legislature made the decision to actually add grant money to us for senior centers. There's a possibility that they're going to do that again. They could look at some other things to say we want the department to have money for this or that. We can't really be involved in that very directly. Trey Jones and Dane Mortensen help run our legislative team. They would be involved in that, where those questions would be asked of us. Could you do this? Is this something you've done? What's the money look like? They would be involved in that, but that's not something that we could actively petition the legislature for, being inside the executive branch, and the executive branch has submitted their budget. So you'll see a lot of that starting to come out this week. Some of the advocacy groups have been reviewing the budget submission, have been making their own observations and reflections online. We thought it was a good idea to get on here so you could hear directly from leadership about what that looks like. I will kind of stop there. I think that's the gist of it. Not a ton to report on that. I know Kara said there was a question that we had submitted, so we'll get to that in a minute. And obviously, if there's things inside the chat that you want to ask, please do that. One of the things that we've been talking about, in fact, Kara and I were talking about it yesterday. We're always encouraged about from you guys as the employees, from doing a better job in internal communication and how we share information and try to let you know what's going on with programs. My ask of you is that you can continue to contribute. If you have questions, ask them. If you feel like that you're not getting visibility in something, please make us aware of that. One of those things that we can't share with you what you want to know if we don't know what you're asking for. So please think about chat, think about submitting questions, and hopefully we're going to continue to be doing some more of these office hours here in the near future as we move through legislative session, and then we get to the end of that. So Kara, I'll turn it back to you, and we can answer some questions or any follow-ups that might be out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner. And we do have one submitted question, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in chat and we'll get to them. Really quickly, that West Tennessee Regional Office Community Open House is February 27th from 11 to 1 p.m. So please, there you'll see the RSVP link in DDA Connect and Open Line. So we are so excited. I'm sure that the West Tennessee Regional Office employees are even more excited than we are, because that building is absolutely beautiful, and we're looking forward to getting Middle and East opened as well. The question for Commissioner Teresa is also on here. If we need to, if there's more to talk about as well, is I am interested in learning more about any new or pending legislation that might affect DDA.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's a pretty big question because there's a lot of things that our department has to look at. So the reason that Kara just said, Commissioner Teresa's on here. Teresa's team does a phenomenal job of looking at every piece of legislation that comes across from the legislature into a system that Trey Jones and Dane Mortensen can track. They work on providing a response from the department around the legislation. Kara, I'm going to wait for a second. There's people that say they can't hear anything.
Can somebody give me a thumbs up and make sure and let us know if you can hear? If and I might type it. I see 10 people that raise their hands and say they can hear. So I'm not sure whether, and 19 now. So I think that we're in good shape. It might be a one-off. So I'm gonna defer back to you to continue.
Yeah, no problem. So just real quick, just to highlight again, the question was any new or pending legislation that might be impacting DDA. There are several things out there that DDA has to respond to, both around fiscal questions, around impact, whether things that are available that are being proposed that we can or can't do, as far as what the legislature might have ideas on. As you guys know, people go to them. Obviously, they petition their elected officials about things that are important to them. So sometimes that then becomes, hey, I've had somebody reach out to me about this. I'm thinking about doing it. What's the impact? I can't speak on singularities or specific things. but there is legislation out there that potentially would impact us around how we might do certain things in funding or how we might do things in serving more people in our population. We won't know the finality of it until the end of session when it gets formally voted on by the legislature. So I promise we're not trying to avoid anything. There's just a lot of things out there right now that we don't know what that's going to look like because it may not even make it to the floor. It might not make it out of committee. And we certainly don't want to just say, hey, this is coming when in reality it's not because it's just been filed, but not actually move through the legislative process. So there are things out there and we're obviously keeping an eye on them. And then when they become final, if they do become law or passed in the legislature, we will let you know about that. We'll move forward depending on what they ask us to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Commissioner. I'm looking for any other questions that are in the chat. I'm not seeing any. So just if I'll wait like 10 seconds for something. And hey, I do know that this is something that people are probably asking in their head about the budget with pay for performance. Bruce Wilson, I know he checked on that. Do you want to say anything about that, Bruce? Because I know you love when I put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's great. Good to get to talk to everybody. Hope everyone's doing well coming through the storm. Just want to reiterate what Commissioner said. If you've got some issues, we want to know about it so that we can help as best we can. I can confirm that pay for performance was part of the governor's budget. We don't know what the exact amount is going to be, but confirmed with David Comm and his team that is in the budget. We don't know the exact amount, but shouldn't see any problems with that at all for July 1. At least that's the hope and the expectation. So that's where we're at with that. So it's good news. It's in the best spot that it can be in at this point.
Excellent. I know that sometimes that's a question that everybody's thinking, but it takes one person to ask it. So Commissioner, we did get a question. Does this mean there is potential for cuts in different units within the departments?
I'm not sure necessarily what I mean. If I understand what you mean about cuts, but on the overall, no. So what happens is generally the budget office, if they ask for any sort of reductions, those are done before anything is actually submitted formally about what the budget is going to look like. So they would have already come to us and said, hey, you need to, reduce your workforce by 2%, 3%, whatever that might look like. They did not do that. So no, there's no anticipation, Jessica, of any reduction in force holistically and saying, hey, this division's going to be hit, this division's going to be hit. We have not been given any indicator for that, and that is not an expectation from me or from anybody in our department that that's going to happen. If it was going to happen, it would have already been proposed, and it was not proposed to us.
One of the things and Commissioner, you might be able to talk about this. One of the things that the governor's office, and they've talked about this in their public hearings, focused on is long-term vacancies. Those vacant positions that have been in all of departments for a very long time, and looking at those before they do any type of other action. Commissioner, do you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, it's a good point to bring up. What Kara's talking about is there's a lot of positions we have that sometimes they become hard to fill. I will tell you about this, that I really need you guys, if you're hiring managers, I need you to be hiring. And I know that sometimes it gets difficult to hire and we hear from people the pay's not right or it's a hard job or this or that, and all of those can be true. What we don't want, and it's really an extension of what Jessica asked in the chat, if we don't fill those positions, they will come take them, which means we cannot get them back. We use those positions to try to flip them into other needs. So some of the positions, if they're fully state funded, sometimes we can look at those and move those to another area of the department that might need a state funded position to try to help with workload or capacity and all of that. If we are not filling those positions, they will come after them. And I will tell you that they have done that before, and they did that this year too. They looked at it and said, look, we're going to take some of these because you're not filling them. So our ELT, the executive leadership team, can tell you that I'm very hard on them about if you have vacancies, you better fill them. And if your leadership teams in the regions are not filling them, you better get on them because we're going to take those positions to try to protect them. So if you saw in the governor's state of the state Monday, there's actually less full-time state employees right now in his last year than there were in Governor Haslam's last year. So there's less positions now than when we started. And that was something that was important to the governor, was making sure that he level set with the employee headcount. And it was important to him, and they did that and met that goal. But just know that we need to be hiring. And that is something as we transition to a new administration. You guys are going to start seeing more things about COSO, the continuity of operations plan, about how do we hand off what has been happening with the administration to the new administration inside our department, because they may or may not know what we do, and they're going to need to know everything about what we do. So all the things that we're doing right now to set them up for success is happening this year. So we've got to continue to make sure the way that Governor Haslam's last year and Commissioner Payne and team set up success for Governor Lee, we have to do that for the new governor administration when they come in 2027, which is hard to believe that, you know, it's that election is 9 months out and there'll be a new governor in 11 months. It's just flown by. But we want to be good stewards the way that the Haslam administration was good stewards to us. So we need to be responsible.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, I really appreciate everyone coming together last minute. When Commissioner and I were talking, as he said, we realized it had been a while, and we wanted to make sure that we're sharing with you what we can. And especially during this time of budgets and legislature and all of these things, and we are entering a transition year, so making sure that we're doing everything we can to reach and meet with you all as we can to make sure that you all feel connected as well. So, Commissioner, you have anything else you want to say before we call this good?
No, I would just say again how much I appreciate you guys and the work that you're doing. I do want to give a shout out to our budget team. I think most of you, if you have not been, head under in the sand or hiding under a rock, know that Deputy Commissioner Kidd had moved to be the new commissioner for the Department of General Services, which we're absolutely thrilled about. Andy was incredibly important to the success of our department. And he was a rock for everything that we were doing and foundational and everything that we got accomplished over the last 6.5 years. Andy was front and center on that. But I want to thank our budget team because they had to work right into legislative session with Andy having transitioned to a new department. I really appreciate the work both done in the region and in the central office to try to get us some budget proposals, and the work that was done, as Andy was trying to work on, a quiet exit to make sure that he was supporting people. I appreciate that. You guys killed it, and we're going to keep doing good things. I'm very excited about where we are as a department and the direction that we're going. We just got to keep fighting. There's a lot of people that are counting on us to keep fighting for them, and we're doing that. And there's a lot of people that see that and they want us to fight even harder, and we're going to be able to do that. So as I tell our teams here, we ride at dawn, and we're going to continue to ride at dawn and saddle up and go get people that we need to get so we can help. But I appreciate all of you, and thanks for the hard work that you're doing. And I'm sure I'll see you soon because we're going to start traveling again, and we'll be on the road, but I'll be seeing you guys.
That's right. And Pat, he is now the commissioner of Andy Kidd is now the commissioner of General Services. So he is Commissioner Turner's counterpart in General Services, which is the company that helped build our beautiful regional office buildings. That is and oversees real estate and purchasing and all of those different things. So he will not be a stranger. In fact, he will likely be at our WTRO ribbon cutting as well. I checked with his schedule before he left. So yeah, we're excited for him, and it's a huge honor that people see the leadership within DDA and say, hey, we believe in what they're doing so much that we want to make it, that we want that to be at other departments as well. So that is a huge testament to Commissioner Turner and his mentorship, and Andy and his leadership. Okay, that's it for us. I will talk to you all later. Go Pats. No, go Seahawks. See you later. All
See you
right.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.